Hey, 1223 back with my first video showcasing a true bell bottom. What I mean by true bell bottom is a lantern that was also available in the wire-based form and the bell bottom form, and this happens to be a bell bottom Adlake Reliable, marked for the Grand Trunk Railway, big time Michigan and Canadian road. So I'm going to go over the stuff on this lantern. You can see that at one point it was customized to provide better grip on the handle. The handle is very mangled. It cannot really move anymore. I mean, the top is exactly what any other Adlake Reliable would be. Marked Adlake Reliable. Stamped G.T.Ry in the lid right here. Has a clear cast G.T.Ry globe in it. The bell, this lantern actually is in all original unrestored condition. The bell is all one piece. It's part of the frame. So the lantern is all original except for one thing in it, and you can also see too what I mean by all original. You look at that. It's pretty bad up in the top, but I'm going to leave it like that. It preserves the originality when I take the globe out. It has an Adlake. It has, if I can get to see it here, an Adlake. You can't really see that. Yes, you can. Adlake 400 burner and pot in it. Which means that either at one time the original burner and pot were either got destroyed or were damaged beyond repair, or either this lantern was put as a special order and had a wider wick in it. Now, I'm not gonna try and get this fuel pot out because it is very hard to remove. It needs to have some steel wool put to the edges of it because it's got crystallized kerosene that after a while it sits down in there and it kind of like hardens back up, and it almost like fuses the pot to the lantern, so it's very hard to remove at the current time. But as soon as that, I mean, there's not really anything special about it, but I mean, what can you do? It's a lantern. It was meant to be used, and it got used, and stuff gets spilled on these things. So I'm going to slip the globe back in here. The globe was made by Corning too. You can see the Corning logo in there. It's a newer cast globe. It's still pretty clear. It doesn't have a really yellow tint to it. Grand Trunk bell bottoms can pop up from time to time. They're not rare, they're not common, but they come up from time to time. You don't see wire bottom models in Adlake very often. You do, however, find them made by a company called G.T.Ry quite a bit. And G.T.Ry was a Canadian manufacturer based out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. They made lanterns for Canadian Pacific, Canadian National, Canadian Northern, and Grand Trunk, as well as many other railroads like the, I think the Intercolonial Railroad, I think was one of them. But they made it all for Canadian, and they have a very beefy look similar to Adams Steel Guard lanterns, which actually I will get, which are just like the Pennsylvania Railroad Adams, but they all have those flat wires similar to the Dressels. So, going horizontally. But otherwise, I mean, really, you find Grand Trunks from time to time, but they do sell at a modest price. So, I mean, they're not a cheap lantern to get, and they're not an expensive lantern to get, depending on what's in them. I mean, it's a good lantern. There's nothing really common or rare about it. So, I mean, there's not really much more to say than that. But I have one more lantern to show you, and then, but anyway, too, this lantern is going to stay. It's not going to go anywhere. Coming up soon, though, we will be another Grand Trunk lantern to join this one. It will have an amber globe. It's an Adlake Reliable Bell Bottom, whatever, but it has an unusual thing. I'll just try and represent it as best as I can. It has, going along the edges of the bell, small little nubs that protrude down a little bit so the bell sits high. It almost like rides off, but they are ice spikes. And ice spike bell bottoms are fairly rare. And that lantern will not be a cheap one to get, especially with the amber globe in it and whatever. So, eventually it will come and join this Grand Trunk on the shelf, but it will be a while because it is not a cheap lantern to get. But now I have another lantern to show you. It's from a Michigan railroad that you don't see very often, and it is all Michigan. It did not, well, actually, no, that's not true. It did have southern terminus was in Toledo. Its northernmost was was just south of Traverse City, and I think north of Montague. So, but I think it's Freeport. I think it was. But anyway, you'll get to see it. It's also I got my first new different color globe, and it is not red. It's either blue, green, or amber. You wait and decide which one it is, but it is not an embossed one, obviously. So, because these models were only, well, never mind. I'll wait till I get the lantern up here to tell you. But I'm gonna go down there and get that other lantern, and I'll be right back. 12:23, out.